Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mitzi, and this is Mitzi Let's Think About It. We have Alijca here, and we are going to be talking about mindful spaces. Alijca, if you don't mind introducing yourself or telling me a little bit about what exactly is mindful spaces.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Mindful Spaces is the name of my business and the name of the program that I created. So I'm all about simplifying our lives and living basically an intentional life. So decluttering a lot of external stuff that are not really serving us or we don't need, and also decluttering from within. So decluttering the things that don't really serve us as well. So traumas, wounds, limiting beliefs, like all this like yuckiness within us that is basically holding us back from living the life we truly desire to live.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if you don't mind me asking, how did you get into this journey? Like, what did you go through to realize this is something that you like doing, that this is something that is good for you as well?
Yes, for sure. Oh my gosh, so I have to go into my story. Or maybe let me
It
take
could
us
be
an
quick.
hour.
It'll be a quick story. Fast
So
forward.
I can summarize it with one sentence, and I'm gonna go a little bit deeper. So a couple of years ago, I basically lost everything and everyone to finally find myself. I wasn't realizing. Growing up, my childhood was a little bit like traumatizing, but I wasn't realizing really what was happening. My father was an alcoholic. He was physically abusing my mom, but I didn't have awareness of it because as kids we just basically adapt. But because of upbringing like that, I grew up to be a codependent people pleaser, and I wasn't really realizing until I was maybe 35 or so when I found myself in a marriage that was not really happy from the very beginning. I just escaped my childhood and wanted to marry someone that is not going to be like physically abusing me and will be quiet. And I found him, but he also had his addictions. So basically, like attracts like. So whatever was familiar for me in my childhood, I attracted in my adulthood because I never healed from my childhood, because I never knew that I have to heal from my childhood. So I was married for 10 years and we have a beautiful daughter together. And I decided to, I guess, around 35, I started having awareness that I am really broken. And no one never told me that, I have this syndrome of adult child of an alcoholic and all this psychological stuff. So I went into therapy and starting like rediscovering myself. Um, and I realized that I was very much looking for happiness in material possessions. So because I was so disconnected from myself, yet thinking I am Mrs. Perfect and my husband is the one that is bad and fighting his addictions and he's not doing anything and I'm trying to help him and he's not seeing it because obviously we can't change people. We can only change ourselves. So I decided to divorce and basically heal myself. And through that, I realized that I don't need all this stuff that I was so attached to, and I don't need this big card because I don't really like need it. I don't need all these clothes that I was just buying because I was so disconnected within me. So I was just shopping, basically doing retail therapy instead of regular therapy.
Mhm.
So yes, I started like minimizing and letting go. Like we sold a house and I moved with my daughter to a two-bedroom apartment, a condo building, and I have so little, and I am just so happy now because I took time to do all this painful and deep healing, analyze
Mhm.
everything, and so I'm just and I created the life kind of by design finally, not the life on autopilot, like without any awareness. And that's why I'm so passionate now in helping others realize that I think the key to our being here is to basically heal whatever happened to us over our life. And we may not realize, we may not be conscious of it because 95% I think we live out of our subconscious. So to get to the subconscious, we need all these kind of events that will break us so we have the awareness. So yeah, so that's what happened. So that's my short story.
No, I like it. Thank you so much. And for me, doing these interviews, I've been noticing that a lot of people, they kind of have to go through, as they say, rock bottom, or they go through these experiences where they finally realize that it's time to heal yourself. It's time
100%.
to
Yes.
focus on yourself and what you really need versus what you really want. And I think once people start realizing that at an earlier age, they can experience happiness sooner, real happiness, not temporary happiness, like that
Yeah, it's just
joy
like
that's
the
deep.
joy coming from within, and 100%, like that's the rock. I hit the rock bottom. I went through a mental breakdown, and it was so hard for me because we live in a society that kind of pictures the life that should be perfect, that we
Mhm.
cannot be sad, that we cannot cry, that we meet with our friends that we have for so many years, but all we do often is just gossip about others, and we are not really allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and share and say like, hey, can we just talk about what's happening within me, because I feel sad, I feel broken. Like I've never had friendships like that. Now I do, because I change, so I'm attracting people that are on the same journey. So all we talk is ourselves. We never talk about people that are not present, basically.
That's good. And I think it takes a long time for someone to just get to that point right there because gossiping is so like okay nowadays. People just make it seem like it's just like saying hello to some people nowadays, especially because there's so many podcasts and TV shows that are mainly focusing just on gossip that it just makes it easier to continue on gossiping throughout your day-to-day life. And that's nice that you're able to attract more friends that are on the same level as you because that it's hard sometimes to attract that. But it's like you said, once you started implementing that in your life and you went forward, then it just ended up coming right to you. And I think that's very fascinating. And do you think sacrificing um like your job and your relationship to find yourself that it's necessary, because some people will hold on to those type of things so that they don't feel, I mean, or so they don't actually rediscover themselves.
But yes, like I think, like, it was necessary for me, because let's say with my job, that was the old me that got the job. That was the old me that was working with men mostly, and I was very, like I say, like codependent people pleaser. So I was always working overtime, always staying longer, saying yes to everything, even though my job description wasn't saying 50% of the things I was asked to do. I would be doing everything.
Mhm.
So when I started like healing and respecting myself more and learning about boundaries, I started saying no, and they just call you names because they don't like it, right? So you're kind of respecting yourself in the environment that you made them so used to disrespecting you. And it's not about them, it was about me. So
Mhm.
um I think it's so hard, and I know with friends that I know right now, it's so common that you do have to disconnect. Like there's this saying that you can't change people around you, but you can change people around you. So like you can change them, you changed, and now you're kind of raising your vibration to these different possibilities, and that's why you attracted then different crowd. And I think why people are not doing it, because they're afraid to face fear, and it's the comfort, right? But
Mhm.
it's I think it's either or, because if you're comfortable but you're also depressed and like not happy, like comfort is where dreams die to me. Like it's like every
Yeah.
day I think we that journey to healing, it's like not I don't consider myself healed. I'm every day I'm facing new challenges and like
Mhm.
new like awareness and like new things that I can transform within me. So I am challenging myself literally on a daily basis, but and it's more fulfilling, it's like more exciting versus like knowing that like I have to wake up at 6, get my daughter to school, go to work, pick her up at 6. Like she was uh, like poor kid, like she was in a childcare for like 10 hours because we were just working and in a chase of what? Like I miss the most precious years really, and that I cannot turn back. But now I am for sure, because of this journey, I became more conscious parent, and because I'm aware of how my upbringing, who I am because of my upbringing. Now I can be so compassionate towards my daughter, and even her, you know, um, tantrums or whatever it is. I can hold space for that because I know it's not about me. Like just because she's gonna use a bad word or throw something, I know she's just needs to like let go of some emotions. It's like it's not about me. That's another good thing of doing the inner work, that you don't take things personally.
Yeah.
So you just know who you are, and it just amazes me with my daughter. She's 11. uh, like I just love being her parent, and I love how she's challenging me because she may be so naughty, and then I will be keeping it like calm. I will be calm. I will say like, Natalia, I'm just gonna breathe right now. I know that you're going through a hard time. Scream in the pillow, through some stuff, but I will be here for you when you like when that emotion is out. And then she will like most likely after an hour apologize and say, you know what, mom, it was this and this that happened at school, and I kind of like throw it at you. So like I'm not like, spanking her or yelling at her or giving her consequences, because I have that capacity right now to like to be there for her, because I know that I could never express myself growing up. Uh, and I know how damaging it is. So yeah, I think it's just to answer your question, like, yes, people, and I was also afraid of, let's say, doing divorce. I'm in Canada, I'm Polish, I was born in Poland, I came to Canada in 2006. So I have no family here, like no one. So like even making a decision about divorce, I was like, how am I gonna be able to do it? Where am I gonna get money for a lawyer? Like, how is this gonna like work out? But once you like once you make that decision because you really know that you're in something unhealthy, and we're also, again, I'm repeating the same pattern. I'm damaging my daughter even because she's being raised in the dynamics that I was raised in, like a little bit healthier because there was no physical abuse, but there's mental abuse. So it was so scary for me, but I did it. And once you choose yourself and the well-being of your soul, the universe will conspire. Like it's gonna happen. And it did happen. Like the money showed up for the lawyer, like everything was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I think that's what it is. It is scary, but then we're so divinely supported once we choose ourselves. It's just not even
Mhm.
funny, like really.
No, I most definitely agree with what you're saying, and everything that you're saying is making perfect sense, because sometimes once you finally align yourself where you need to be, or where you want to be, better to say, everything eventually just adds up perfectly. And with mindful spaces, is that kind of what you're teaching people? Is basically how to, or if you
So
don't mind explaining.
yeah, so mindful spaces, like I just named it like mindfulness, right? So being like present with yourself.
Mm,
And my program that I developed is basically like 3 steps. So it's decluttering and simplifying. So touch let's just get rid of this fantasy that material possessions are going to bring us happiness, because like they won't. We don't really want to get fulfillment from those things because that's a very temporary thing.
mhm,
So I'm a guiding woman. Mostly I work with women on how to like declutter. So like let's just get rid of the stuff that we accumulated. Like, and especially when we're moms, like we tend to also feel guilty that we don't have time for kids, so we overbuy on toys, and we don't have any boundaries with family members. So the stuff is keep on coming into the space, and then we're so overwhelmed that we don't have time for laundry, we don't have time for cooking, we don't have time for cleaning, because the more we
mhm,
have, the less time we have for everything, but the less we have, the more time we have finally for ourselves. And so mindful spaces, because I really am passionate to like convince moms that we do have to put ourselves first, because if we're not going to put ourselves first, we cannot like give from an empty cup. We have to first fill our own cup to be able to raise kids that are, happy, healthy, and maybe less traumatized as we were, because we all experience trauma.
No,
So
I think that's so true.
yeah, so I help them like through those steps, like decluttering the physical spaces, cleaning up, like introducing minimalism, even though like I don't consider myself a minimalistic person, but like simplifying, basically simplifying, bringing awareness to another step is minimize, meditate, manifest. So meditate, basically bringing awareness to traumas, because so many of us were not aware that we may think we had a happy childhood because we think what happy is what we saw, right? But then we have to kind of unlock stuff within us that we like imprinted from society. It's like we're like a little bit like a computer. Like we create folders and we put, okay, this is my father was angry and my mom was just like being quiet. So this is how life works. So I'm gonna be now a quiet person through life. That's not the truth, right? That's just the programming that we just embodied into
Mhm.
our subconscious. So I'm kind of gently through all the years, me in therapy and different courses, guiding them through like introduction to inner work and healing and connecting with that inner child within us that maybe didn't receive what was hoping for in their childhood. So I'm helping them, introducing them to this healing journey. And then the last step is manifesting. So when you like clear all the junk from the external and a little bit from the internal, like you would say before, you're raising your vibration. So you're no longer here. You kind of stepping couple of, it's like climbing the hill, right? Our journey in
Mhm.
life should be like basically climbing the mountain, knowing that it's peaks and valleys. It's not really a straight going up. It's like one step forward, two steps back.
Mhm.
So the more I think we release, the better our like we're clearing ourselves, our external spaces and internal spaces, and we're just attracting something different. We are being more clear on our purpose also in life, because our purpose is not only to be a mom and raise children, right? It's beautiful that
Mhm.
we're bringing them here, but so often we make it all about kids, and then we feel so empty when they grow up and they leave the
Mhm.
houses, because we didn't take time to discover ourselves, our gifts, our passions. I talk to so many moms that they say like, oh, I really love photography, but I don't have time for this. Like, make time. It's possible. Like, it is possible. Just like a little bit of self-care, like nothing is gonna happen. And the less we have, the more time we have basically to, yeah, to follow whatever we love doing.
Yeah, I think everything that you're teaching other mothers and other women is very important because I've said that to my mom before I became a mother, how she needs to remember that you were you before you became a mother, and you shouldn't feel guilty for trying to find yourself again, and you shouldn't feel guilty for trying to rediscover yourself. In better words, it's not fair because once your child leaves you, then what is that? What are you? Then you're rediscovering yourself at 50 or 60 or 70, even, because depending on how many children you have, you're always going to identify yourself as a mother. But what else can you identify yourself? You could identify yourself as a preacher, as a teacher, as anything in the world that you are passionate about, you can consider yourself to be as well. And I think that's beautiful how you are helping other mothers, guiding them through this path, that it's okay to find yourself, it's okay to love yourself, it's okay to
100%.
let your baby cry, or do whatever you got to do to make you happy again. Because me being a new mother, I had to realize I'm not just a mother. I was a woman before I was a mother. And now that I'm a mother, I felt myself losing myself in that stigma. Oh, you're only a mother now. Now you have to act like this. You have to dress like this. You got to be like this. And it's like, oh, I was getting so stressed out because no, I'm me. I'm Mitzi. I can still be me. And it took a while for me to realize that, it took a couple weeks because he's only a month old, but still, like, I had to remind myself, and it's still like a constant thing, kind of like you said, where healing never stops. There's no ending point of healing. There's no
No.
ending points of the trauma that you face when you're a child. There's really none. It just continues on as long as you understand it and accept it and you're able to reframe it so that it no longer hurts you is the biggest key. And I think that is amazing how you are teaching, because certain women, they don't have that concept, or they weren't exposed because, like you said, generational acceptance, seeing what the past generation did and thinking it's okay, that's the normal, that's what everybody does in my family, so I might as well just do it too. And it's not right. You got to stop these curses. You got to stop these continuous bad habits that continue on, because you didn't want your daughter to be exposed to that. And I don't want my child to be exposed to certain things that I was exposed to as a child. It's not fair for them to live a life that I seen before, or my
Yeah,
parents seen or my
100%.
grandparents seen.
100%. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with people that, like, the people that were saying you like, oh, now you're like no one, you're going to be a mom, because probably they still are not able to choose themselves and change their identity, but they want you really to come on their side, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we want to kind of avoid. Like, it doesn't mean that we have to eliminate those people, but like, I know from my experience, I think the worst year for me was 2020. Like, that's when COVID hit, and that's when I decided that I have to disconnect from my old crowd, because I'm just gonna like be even more depressed. So
Mm-hmm.
I felt so like alone, but then I was so committed to my healing. So for a year, I didn't even have, I only had my best friend. And I remember like crying to my coach. I was like, oh, how am I gonna like meet those new people that were gonna understand me? That I just turned my world upside down, but it makes sense. Like, yes, it's crazy, it's painful, but also it feels so like good. And he was saying like, don't worry, it's gonna come, it's gonna come, just be patient, you're gonna build your own community. And that's what happened. Like, 2021, I started like connecting. I was already like feeling better, so I could attract new people. And like, literally now I have friends that are coaches, that are service workers, that are yoga teachers. Like, whatever I'm doing and I'm so passionate about, that's who I'm attracting right now. So it's just like amazing how it works. And no one is going to tell me, oh, like, you crazy because, you're single, or you should look for someone because it's easier with men. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, for sure, it's nice to be in a relationship, but I'm like patiently waiting. I'm not gonna rush through it, because I'm okay by myself. Like, I don't need someone to, save me or to feel more secure. I
Mm-hmm.
desire a partner and partnership, but not someone. I don't want to be with someone just because it's going to be easier.
Exactly. And I think the fact that you were married before and you realize that your identity was tied up in the marriage before, that's what made you realize that you're okay being single. It happened to me where to be honest, I think anybody who goes through a toxic relationship realizes that it was really toxic because you lost your identity. It became really toxic because you lost who you were, and all of your guards went down, and everything went flip flop and all over the place, and then once you finally get out of that, you realize you again, you kind of realize, I don't want to identify myself with anybody that is like that, or I don't want to associate or be around anything like that, because it's not good for myself. And I think that is very important, that people need to try to re-identify themselves, or just relearn themselves and learn to be okay being alone, just having that single life,
Yeah,
because sometimes people jump into relationships right after college or right after high school, and they're just in their relationship and they don't realize that they lost themselves until years later, until they realize, who am I? And I think everybody has to ask themselves that question. Who are you? Who really is Alijca? Who really is Mitzi? Who really is Joe down the street? I don't know, but
yeah,
but I
because
think
it's much harder to do it. Yes, when you like go into marriage and you're in this relationship, you're kind of settled, and it's like cozy, you know the future, you just work and then you go on a weekly vacation. But then it's just like, yeah, like it's very like shallow. So
Mhm.
it's hard to do. I think it's very hard to do this work when you're in a situation like that. And like we say at the beginning, like something has to happen to kind of like shake
Mm.
the relationship a little bit. And also it's just so common, even me connecting with moms, that it still amazes me that we're in 2022 and there a lot of relationships look like that we are a mom and the mom is like responsible for everything because the
Mhm.
dad is working, but then the mom is also working and uh, and has to do the work, and but also kids and all these like activities, and the dad no. So it's like, are we in a partnership? Because that's what I desire to be, in a partnership. So then
Mhm.
there's no such a thing as a mom and a dad, like we're two separate individuals following our passions and our purpose, and also raising beautiful human beings together. But we have the same responsibilities in our household. There is no such a thing as woman just does all this thing because the man is working and versus the woman is also working. Like I just can't wrap my head about this.
No, I most definitely agree. It baffles me how it's just acceptable for men to just work and have an occasional beer after work or barely take out the trash. And it's okay. That's good for you. A for effort, you get a gold star. But for us women, we have to do everything and more and not complain about it and not ask for any help or not do this and not do that. And it's just, I feel that women have a lot of pressure to be a certain way and to be a certain image. And it's time for this generation and the next generation, just every generation now needs to realize we need to let that go. We need to be
We need to let
okay.
that go, and we have to be vulnerable. Like we cannot be just like allowing for all of this. Like I
Mhm.
don't think a woman can be really happy if it shares with me like, yeah, like my husband is just asking me like what's wrong with me because I'm kind of like not performing well with all these like things around the household. And I'm like, well, the true partnership is not what's wrong with you. It's like, how can I help you? I can see that you're being overwhelmed. So how can I pitch in? But
Mhm.
then again, it's going back to the basis of the relationships. It's, are we settling or are we in a partnership? And usually when we're settling, we're so afraid of being vulnerable with the partners because either we're afraid of rejection or sometimes aggression or sometimes like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, just too much, you're too much, just like I'm working and you just tackle it. And that's not partnership. That's just yeah, that's just very unhealthy dynamics, and so many of us unfortunately are stuck in those dynamics.
That's true. And just a quick question before we start wrapping up the show. What motivates you or what keeps you motivated to keep going and keep doing mindful spaces and helping other people?
um what motivates me, my growth, like I just want to, I'm on this journey of like constant like growth and overcoming like new obstacles. So I also want to be of service. I believe that we all came here to be of service to others. Like I, through all my marriage and being so financially like great, and we had a nice house and cars and we were going on vacation, I was never contributing to others. Like I was never contributing to charities, like never there of service to others. It was all about my mortgage, my household, and like, and my well-being, but it was never about others. So this journey of healing made me realize that we came here actually mostly to contribute to one another, and it's not about me. It's about like sharing what I've learned and being of service to others. So I'm also engaged in different charities. My heart goes to Nicaragua, and that's another story. But I'm very connected to Nicaragua because the kids there have. I engage in some small communities in northern Nicaragua, and I just saw how little those kids have and how happy they are. So my business always, I contribute 10% of my income to help and support a school in a small village in Nicaragua, and yeah, just give like some sort of better lifestyle to those kids. So I think that's what motivates me, just to like help others, because we really don't need much, especially in Northern America. We have like so much. And even now, I'm Polish, so there's war in Ukraine, like we are right on the border.
Yeah.
And even that made me like convince me even more that like material possessions and what we so strive to buy, all this new junk and just stuff and expensive clothes, like we don't need it. Like in the event of war, like even when we die, we're not taking anything with us except for our soul. And so that's why we want to
Mhm.
heal our soul. So, like, you know, we're better off out there whenever we're going. And we cannot take anything with us. But
Yeah.
what we did, what we contributed, the lives we changed, that stays within us. But whatever we purchase is not going to be with us.
I think what you said is refreshing, very refreshing,
Oh,
just because I say that all the time in other podcast shows where we're not living for ourselves, where other people are affected by what we do and vice versa. Where it's all just comes back as a 360 back around one way or another, where my life will affect somebody else's life some way, somehow. And I applaud you for affecting village in Nicaragua and helping those children, because I seen videos and I watch documentaries, and I see the life of, third world countries and, small countries, and it's crazy how humble they are. These children and these adults, they're so humble by the smallest
yes,
of things. And like you said, even in war, what are you worrying about when you're gathering your things? You're just worrying about your life and the ones that you love, and just the clothes on your back is sufficient. And people don't realize that when you're put in these situations, then you realize what really matters. And it's like you said, you're not taking anything with you. All this materialistic things, that they will rot, they will rust, they would die and be dead and mean nothing when it's your time to go. And I feel that a lot more people need to have that type of perspective, so that they can be happy with the small things and be humble and feel motivated and grateful just for what they have already. And I feel that once people do that, the depression of not having enough or the worry of not having enough will just drift away, because your mind is not focused on that anymore. Your mind is
yeah,
focused on other people and how to help somebody. And I sometimes even have goals where I got to make sure at least somebody smiles, or I'm able to help somebody eat lunch for that day or a week or whatever,
yes,
so I feel that once people have that
100%.
perspective.
I think sometimes we also get lost. Like, and I've heard that many times. People like telling me like, "Oh, you're not gonna save the world." Well, if we all gonna say it, yeah, we're not gonna do it. But
Mhm.
imagine if anyone will contribute $1 to something, and it's like billions of people on this planet. Uh, yeah, we will save the world. But it's the small, very tiny steps and actions that we take collectively as a collective that really matters. So
Mhm.
yeah, maybe my 10%, yeah, it's not gonna save, but will that like improve someone's life? It will, and I'm so happy to do it.
That's good. That's good. And Alicia, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Any maybe advice or any motivation or anything at all that you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap up the show completely?
Like my message this month is like really for moms to remember of their self-care, like to wake up 15 minutes before your regular alarm, and just like, you know, if you don't do meditation or yoga, it's fine. Just sit with yourself, take some time, like put your right hand on your heart, left hand on your belly, and just connect with your body, because we're so in a headspace the moment we wake up and go into this like run mode, and that it's so nice to just take some time to ourselves first thing in the morning. And yeah, if you can try that and watch your life changing, because that's how I started, waking up before the sun wakes up, and just taking time to myself just sets me up for such an awesome day versus just waking up to the rush of a day right away.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for giving me that advice because I think I need to start doing that. Most
Yeah.
definitely for my sanity, just to remember that I am not just a mother. I am a human being. I'm a woman and I can do this. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.